So let's talk about wire fraud. This is a growing concern for everyone in the industry. Wire and checks still seem to be the prevalent payment method in which folks remit payment for both debits and credits coming in and out of their businesses. And of course, fraudsters have found this, they're exposing this. Let's talk about how they do that. And it's the old method, the primary option of spoofing your email. So what does that mean? A business email compromise or email account compromise are the two primary methods in which wire fraud is going to generate. And again, that is based on somebody gaining access by using phishing attempts to get and gain access to your email accounts. I am sure we have all on this webinar heard that, phishing attempts, we all use the same username and passwords. We try to make them as easy to remember as possible. And then we repurpose those same emails across the board. But unfortunately, that is the primary method in which these fraudsters are going to gain access to our very delicate information. Something to consider too as part of this is while artificial intelligence has helped industries and is certainly prevalent in this industry and growing, it has also helped these fraudsters and write more sophisticated content. They have the ability to go out and gather information about you, about your business through scraping public information and public records and using that all the way down to transaction and transaction details. Then they take that data and that information and that email spoofing and getting access to your information, and they view all of the other contacts in your network around these transactions, and they have transaction detail, and they get very sophisticated in their ability to impersonate you, folks in relation to that transaction, like a title or an escrow agent, perhaps your borrower, and they're able to collect and consolidate that information to make that look very real and very tangible and very accurate around that particular part of the business. And so what's interesting about this from a fraud standpoint is the FBI actually tracks the top 30 ways in which financial crimes and internet crimes happen. And wire fraud currently sits at top 10. It's actually sitting at 7 as an increasing. So soon to be a top 5 fraudulent way in which transactions are happening, that the FBI is tracking this through their complaint center. So again, very prevalent, growing, it's not going away, but it's the old method of getting access to all of this information through that business email compromise or personal email compromise. So again, be very diligent in some of those things that you're looking at as it relates to your email. And I wanted to touch on just some of the other methods. Steve, you did a great job. Some of the other things like bank fraud, appraisal fraud, check fraud, and there's notary fraud happening. And it's getting so far into folks getting aggressive in these spaces that they're actually showing up and pretending and impersonating notaries and having fake stamps and meeting people in public restaurants and showing their faces and things of that nature. So again, it's definitely not something that is somebody sitting behind a computer like you and I. They're actually getting aggressive and getting very familiar and have a lot of content at their fingerprints and fingertips to get very intimate with your information around this. So again, in summary, wire fraud is the electronic communication and defrauding the individual by gathering that information, typically through email and through various public records, to gather that information, gain access to your accounts, to your customers' accounts, and then posing as you within that transaction to defraud you. And then obviously within the wire transaction itself, you're sending out the banking information, your beneficiary parties, you have all that proprietary and confidential information about your banking institution, and they're going to redirect those funds into their bank account and send that bank account wire request on your behalf, posing as you.